So, hello people, welcome back to the second episode of this Kitbash tutorial, Kitbashing, or converting Commander Shadowsun Tau battlesuit model into something looking like this badass miniature that I did a year ago for Adepticon 2019. This tutorial was originally meant as a theory class held at Adepticon, but since the current situation doesn't allow the event to take place, I decided to make this video tutorial. I hope I can lead you through the process, and I will try to I will probably make this more deep than the theory class would have been, and it's also a full recording of the techniques and each step that I will perform kitbashing this model. What you will need to follow this, apart from the model of course, and parts that you want to put onto her, is the usual hobby tools of course, which is clipper, X-Acto knife, a little bit of blue tack or Patafix, a tool that I have to recommend to you, with which I wouldn't be able to do all my kit bashes, is this resin or razor saw from JLC, and a cutting mat where I prefer a strip of leather because it's a little bit softer and parts do not skip. This mentioned, I highly recommend that you think about what parts you want to use yourself, and use this video tutorial like as a rough guideline how to approach this conversion in general, and find your own style, your own version of it on the way, on the fly, so to say. I now want to go through the first main steps that I will perform on this model. Step 1 will be the body. I will have to use most part of the original Shadowsun model, and then replace the upper part of the falling torso with the front plate of a Castellan robot and the upper part of a Tartaros Terminator. I might have to add some spacers or little details, and doing that I also want to use, where is it, either a regular Cataphracti Gorget or the special one from the Cataphracti Captain Stalock Athan, or we might use it somewhere else. I'm not sure on this. First step would be build the main body, have the main frame, so to say, in place, and then see how the rest of the parts can be attached, and then it's up to detail. So step 2 will be the pose. After we get the body attached and fixed and have cut away all the stuff we won't use and maybe replaced a few parts, it's time to attach additional pieces and placeholders to get the pose of the mini done. We'll possibly use a bit of steel wire to have the parts adjustable and fixed a little bit better than with just the blue tack. And then we will be able to experiment a little, do small adjustments so that the model is in a pose that we want. Step 3 will be the detailing. That means removing all the tower specific stuff. That means changing up the bolt gun, possibly adding additional cables and stuff, and deciding if we want wings or whatever on the model. The steps also will include converting the feet. I will keep that for as long as possible out of my mind, because I think the hooves work at the moment. They give the model a very elegant, feminine appearance, and it could be that we won't convert them that much or as much as I have intended in the beginning, because adding these little primaris ski could be too much, could be okay. I don't know it yet. We will see. So the first thing we want to do is get the body stuck to the legs. What I use as glue is Ravel Contactor Liquid or Contactor Professional. Depends on what medium you like for application. The Contactor Liquid comes with a small brush in the lid, while the Professional usually has a tiny needle that constantly gets bogged. That's why I don't use it. I prefer the brush thing. What I don't want to glue on yet is the front piece, but we have to decide where to cut it later on so it will accommodate the Adaptus Mechanicus piece. And what we will also leave off the model is the leg, because we will Kitbash convert the legs later. It might have been a good idea to get rid of that little fin here now, but I tend to keep as much of the model as possible at the start. It's not a real problem to glue it on later if you have cut it prematurely, but most of the time it's good to lean back a bit, think for a few seconds what you want to do, and then rather put something on the model that will alter the appearance of the piece you think about cutting than cutting it off straight away. That's it so far. The exact position of the head might change too. It will depend on where the front piece will sit later. I have yet to find a way how I can work on this and show you and be able to see what I'm doing without craning my head too much underneath the tablet. So as soon as this is dry, I will brainstorm a few bits like what to use as spacers for the part around your head to get the armor there good looking and as imperial as possible without giving her too much bulk. So it seems that zooming has become an issue with my device, so I had to come up with something to show you the pieces I want to use. I have so far divided them in two groups. The primary parts that I am quite sure I want to use, and secondary parts where I'm not sure how to use them yet, if I will use them at all, but which shows details that might be a cool opportunity to just have a look how they will work on the model. Yeah. So let's do some cutting now. I have tried to get the tablet a little bit closer. We might have some issues with focus here and there, but we will work along. So the first thing I want to do is to get the front plate of the carapace fitting to the original Shadowsun chest in a manner something like this. I don't really know how to do that on video and how to, or in what way ever, I don't have. So let's begin with the chest piece using the original Shadowsun chest and a Castellan robot front armor piece, and I want to merge these two parts roughly like this. So the first thing I will cut away is these tiny, I don't think we'll need those. Try to cut them away in whole so that we might use them later. And I'm doing a first shave, so to say, over here to get a feeling for the part. where it will sit later. There's a lot of dry fitting, obviously, to do at such an essential part where you want to merge two pieces together as seamlessly as possible. And as I am no friend of modeling with green stuff, I like to do this as neat as possible. This is a process where I have to think a lot and concentrate a lot, so I won't be able to speak too much. Won't be able to explain every cut I make. We'll need the versatile hobby file. Yeah, doing stuff off camera always helps. You all know it. Doing this with having in mind that the camera is running doesn't really help to make it easier, I assure you. Part of me is quite glad that I don't have to do this in front of an audience. when it seems that one part won't go in to the direction you want it to go, just switch sides, so to say, and work on the second part. I should have used those seams here before to get there quicker, because they're pretty much where we want to be. Something like this. Trying to make that piece a little bit slimmer around the bottom. That could be it. Yeah, looks good. Forgot this is quite fiddly. Oh, come on. To get these two parts merged as seamlessly as possible, I put glue on both sides and wait a few seconds before I push them together, and we might see quite early, or what we see first is that it takes quite the time to get a piece into the shape you want it to have, and it can be really fiddly. Mark my words. And we also see quite directly that the position of the head must go a bit to the front, which won't hurt us too much. We can easily adjust later when adding the arms over here, so everything will be nicely in place. So that was the first step. Let's give this some minutes to dry and continue with the part on her back. So I think the parts are dry enough to continue work, and now there is already the time for the first change to happen, and the first part to switch, which can come quite early during the process of kitbashing, and it's probably all the time that way. As mentioned before, the head will go further to the front, and that makes way or makes enough space for this part of the Cerastus Knight Lancer, which will provide not only this flat round area where we can put some cool bit to form a kind of gorget around her head, but it also gives us some kind of protection on that air vent over there. We might probably not put an additional part over here, but drill a hole into it so this part will form the Gorget. Well, what we have to check now is that we will be able to fill up that piece later with something that might provide cover to her head. Maybe something like that, like a knee pad from the Castellan robots, or probably something totally different. Yeah, I don't know at the moment. It could be that we will ruin this part. Could be that we might go better if we use this part here. Could even, what about that? Would be cool to have this as the Gorget. Where's that Stalog Athan part? It's over here. If we use that to close off sorry, to get that gap closed, that would probably work. So what to do first? To do first, we cut away the part in front. You might have noticed that I often cut toward my finger, but I'm using a size 12 blade, which has the opportunity that it's not sharp around the bottom, so I can handle it against my thumb without being in danger of cutting myself. That's it. Let's attach this with a little bit of blue tack. The front piece is not dry enough. This works really well so far, and I think we will work with that further. And like I mentioned, drill a hole into that socket, so we have a Gorget ready and done, and maybe use that part over here to frame her in and add. We can use the whole that whole part here to frame that head. I think that would look quite cool. Don't work. Yeah, we have enough imagination to imagine that, for lack of better wording. Let's ruin the piece further by drilling that hole. And let's see if I can do that in a way that you can see the rest of it done. We will have that hitting the tablet quite a lot during these tutorials. So while this drill is quite sharp, it's almost too sharp for plastic, and it's repeatedly creating a hard edge where the next step, the next tire of the drill goes in. It's a stepped drill with the pilot hole included, so to say. I have to work on it step by step, else the part will break. We don't want the part to break. Again, I have routed the tip of the blade on that leather strip that I glued onto this wooden cube, so I minimize the possibility to hurt myself when cutting. Could be that this is already enough. looks good so far. But it's while the neck seal looks good, I can easily see that those plates would need to be higher up. So we will possibly cut away the part that now has her head and put those plates up higher so that we have enough space for the Gorget part. Yeah, we'll definitely need that. So a quick decision made me think about using a regular Tartarus Terminator front piece instead of the one from Shadowsun, because it's a bit smaller and not that ornamented, so will likely not interfere too much with the face. So what I will do now is separate that plate from the head socket and get this piece cut so it will fit. That comes on top of the idea pile. Let's widen that hole a little bit. I think I have to put my tools just to the left instead of putting them to the right, so I won't hit the camera that frequently. So now comes my favorite technique, performed best with the Mark 12 blade, which is the stab. Make sure that you don't cut into your finger. Push it straight down, like I guided with my middle finger, so I can push it down and use the blade like that to cut the part away. Zit. Might as well adjust the arm directly. Of course, I already know that the position of the true arms will be around somewhere around here. We have to bolster up our hip too, so she doesn't look too oversized and stretched. Oh, look at that. It's even a much better part than the Titan chest. Happy accident, so to say. Now we just have to clean up those granulations down here. Looks fine. And give it a snag here and there so it might fit on top of the original Shadowsun arms. That was a bit premature. Making some space first, where I'm sure that I won't need the plastic, I won't need the material to make a good connection. We have the space. Now I can go like just to the front. Getting a bit too comfortable with the knife for this late hour, so switching to the file. Cleaning up a bit and then dry fitting. Dry fitting again. It's dry fitting and dry fitting and dry fitting and dry fitting. So this looks pretty damn nice. And we should be able to cover this up quite nicely too. So now it's getting the rim around here a bit more clean so that we can glue it together, but we won't do that at the moment because it is totally possible that we have to adjust the angle, so the parts that will follow later have enough space or look good. Also, filling this gap will be one of the last parts we want to do on the model. What we have to do is make it a little bit slimmer so that it has exactly the width of the original body, so that when we work with the other parts around, we don't have false dimensions, so to say, that will stretch the miniature and make it appear good looking, but when we pull all the blue tack away, it will look odd because the parts don't fit like they should. But keep in mind that it might be that we add a little spacer behind, so this will go up over here, not sure. Kitbashing is an evolving technique, if you want to call it a technique, an evolving process. And while you have to have a kind of a goal, like an image or an idea in your head where you want to go, you definitely have to be ready to switch initial ideas and work around inspiration, work around the parts you have at hand, and thus build up step by step the miniature you want to create. And in the end, you probably won't have the miniature that you have imagined right at the beginning, but something more detailed, more amalgamated. And yeah, that's what makes making Kitbash tutorial videos so hard, because I for myself don't really know what you people want to see. What do you want to see? The progress, the process like this, with all the redos and cuts and stuff, and me talking the ideas behind it? Or would you prefer to have like that is what I have done, and then in a fast forward kind of way, this is how I did it, so you can reproduce exactly what I have done here? Or the other version would be like that you're more interested in the process as a process, like a more theoretical approach, where you can see how I do it, and where you can learn to adapt and to be creative, if one can learn that at all. So let's call this episode mostly done. I have tried to follow my notes, fix the main body, have brainstormed bits, cut off parts that were in the way, have refined the design, then brainstormed again, and came out with something not totally different from what I had intended at the beginning, but more convoluted, more amalgamated, more detailed perhaps, and more fitting to the aesthetic. So keep in mind that, again, this is a process, and when you do kit bashing, don't shy away from using 3 or 4 or 5 parts, different parts for a thing of which you initially might think that you already have found the part that would look best. It always pays off to move around parts, and think around the corner somehow. So I want to thank all my patrons at this point. Thanks for supporting me continuously. I want to thank all my followers who somehow find the stuff I do more cool than entertaining, I guess. I don't know. And I hope that I can provide you with more of these type of videos in the future. And we will see where this goes in the next episode, where I will continue the work on the main upper body of this Commander Shadowsun Conversion. Test again. Okay, here we go. So